Hello and welcome to Press Party, where we turn the cameras around and talk about the media. I'm your host, Katie Eastman. With our first big snowstorm of the year comes around-the-clock coverage and all of our favorite bundled-up reporters. And Marty Walsh officially became Boston's new top guy, but it's a different media world than when Menino became mayor 20 years ago. And one MSNBC show went too far when talking about Mitt Romney's family. Now let's meet our panel. For the first time, we have veteran meteorologist Mark Rosenthal. Joining us is Tito Jackson after he was just sworn in for his third term as a Boston City Councilor. And we have Jacqueline Cashman. She is a co-host of Boston Herald Radio's Morning Meeting. Our first nor'easter of the season sent a generous amount of snow and bitter cold to Boston. It's that time of year when the lucky ones snuggle up inside and let the TV reporters tell them just how cold and terrible it is. Erica Mora has more on the stories from the storm.
Ice, snow, freezing cold. It's called winter.
This year's winter brought the polar vortex's record freezing temperatures across the country.
The temperatures that we're talking about are deadly.
Thankfully, we have brave news people reporting.
This is fantastic right here.
Standing on a big snow pile that doubles as a slide.
Have our good old measuring stick here again, and here
A ruler. That's original.
Stop! Collaborate and listen!
Rapping. And then there was, no wait, we need to go back to the rapping.
It's an ice vest holding me tightly, sold like an iceberg daily and nightly.
Now we move on to stepping in snow.
If you're this guy and it all hardens up, you might be in for a rude awakening.
And we round everything off with some science experiments.
If you take a jug of boiling water and throw it in the air,
You get snow.
take a look at what happens when I spray some water here on this bus stop.
Oh boy, what happens?
Instantly, this water turns right to ice.
And this is how we cover snowstorms, ladies and gentlemen. For Press Party, I'm Erica Mora.
All right, so Mark, first question for you. You have been there, you have done this, you have been on TV many times. You've worked for local stations and for Good Morning America.
Right.
What are these reporters crazy, or do you just have to do whatever you got to do to get through those live shots?
It's the news directors of the TV stations that are crazy because they're the ones that are driving the bus that say, you know, we want to do this today, we want to do that, we're going to have you out talking about the snow and make it seem like, oh, this has never happened before. It's another, oh my God story, the world's coming to an end. You know, this is Boston. The last time it snowed was probably about a week ago. So, I'm sorry to be so sarcastic. But after doing this for
cynical for a
41
while,
years,
yeah.
you know, when I started in 1972, I'm sorry to say this was real journalism. But now, now it's really, I mean, we've gotten to, you know, to the point where every time it snows, it's the end of the world. And, you know, they have a reporter here and a person you know, like watching the salt trucks load up here and somebody talking to a plow. And it's like, what's old is what's new. So it personally makes me crazy.
Some of them props for those creative stand-ups, though, right? I'm sure, Jacqueline, you and
I've
TV News
been
had to come up
guilty
with
of
those
doing a
too,
lot of those type of
spraying
stand-ups.
the water that turns into snow.
I didn't see any snow angels, and I also
you done
didn't.
that?
I've done snow angels, and what I also didn't see anybody wearing any goggles. I was disappointed that Erica didn't include any of them because actually it was funny on Facebook. I saw somebody write, Steve Cooper has his goggles on. Things must be getting serious. But here's the thing. Weather is the #1 reason why people watch local news, okay? You can read all you want about, yeah, there's a big storm. You can go online and you can see play-by-play as to, you know, when the storm's coming and how many inches. But there's nothing better than sitting at home and watching on live TV how bad the conditions are outside. Show me how fluffy the snow is. Is it like, you know, snow that's very soft and fluffy? Is it really heavy? And that's what TV news reporters are doing, and that's what people at home want to see.
But the only issue I have with that is the context in which it occurs in. We live in Boston. And so my friends in Washington, D.C., where it snows 2 inches and not all, and you'll love this about the federal government, all non-essential federal government services shut down with 2 inches of snow. That's a problem, right? But we're in Boston. It snows in the wintertime and actually gets cold in the wintertime. So I think, and mind you, I think the cool, creative things, I think that's great. But the amount of time that we spend on something that literally we could actually open our blinds and actually just look outside and see, I think it's somewhat gratuitous, I think.
You know, I would say this. I think it's important to have the weather person, having a meteorologist on there who knows what they're talking about, #1, not just a pretty face.
And you were that guy. You were
so-
that meteorologist.
No, but, you know, but that's okay.
Mark, did you call me pretty?
I did. But
Okay,
I mean,
thank you so
I could
much.
talk to you more about it.
Okay.
I think it's really, it's important to go to your local person who's on doing the weather for you, and it's important that they know what they're talking about. And again, they're not a pretty face dressed in a pretty dress, sorry. And so once you get over that, and they give you the data and what's happening, end of story. So, in my view, like unless you have the blizzard of 1978 all over again, where you have 2 feet of snow and tremendous flooding along the coast and people are without power and it's bitter cold, it's not that much of a big story. So to take reporter after reporter and put them out in a different scene. One's in Hull and one's in Newton and 128.
And reporters who don't have a specialty or I saw CNN was putting the tech money reporter outside. So
no, but that's not even the point. But I
about.
think it's just overkill. What it does is it inflames a society that's already on pins and needles from, oh my God, this is the end of the world. I won't be able to go to the store and get bread and milk and I'm going to be trapped inside. So we feed that.
Here's the thing. TV news has changed so much in the last 20 years.
Exactly.
And where you get your news and how you get your news has changed dramatically.
And do you know why?
Let me just finish one thing.
Go ahead.
Because we have the internet and we have a variety of resources now. We have cable TV, we have nonstop news. So what happens is local news, the best thing that they can do now is weather. So that's why they have somebody in Hull and the Berkshires and up in Manchester and where have you. Because people watch. It's the one time where people have to go to the local news. That's the one time where they really need to go to local TV to see what's happening in areas not outside their backyard.
All right, well, let me give it to you like this. The reason why they're doing that, because everything has gone online and there's major competition for advertising dollars online now.
Right.
And the consultants came along to the owners of the TV station and they said to them, look, if you want to give people an alleged compelling reason to watch you and get your numbers up so you can get your advertising dollars, everything has to be, oh my God, if it bleeds, it leads. So that's where that comes from. Not so much that it's changed because they want their money. That's the bottom line. How are we going to get our money? Scream. Oh my God.
How do you change that? How do you change
pretty
that?
faces, flashy graphics.
How do you make it not just the pretty faces and the
Well,
flashy
because
graphics
you give it some substance and have some common sense that if you provide a good product with people that know what they're doing, that have a personality, that want to be warm and engaging to the public, which they've taken away. Now everybody who's on the air can be replaced. Management of TV wants to take that power away from talent. They don't want them to get that powerful. They don't want them to pay them the money. So once again, it's another. It's another element of money.
I agree with everything you're saying, but the other thing is that I understand that it's important to have someone like yourself, a well-accomplished meteorologist, telling us, track by track as to how many inches we're going to have at a certain time. But local news, TV is also entertainment. In that sense, it is also important to have the guide slide down and say, oh, look what we can do here, because it's entertainment, it's fun.
In California, news station just won a lawsuit that said that they could hire weather people based on entertainment because a guy who was a 20-year veteran meteorologist, he knew what he was talking about. He couldn't get a job because it was only the pretty faces, but they won because they said they were entertainment.
And something, the times that we live in today, and it's not just in the media, in terms of being hired for a job, it's Generation X. If you're 25 to 35 and you're pretty and you're blonde, and they're going to hire you. If you can speak and not bumble and stumble and you know what you're doing and you have some class and you can handle yourself on the air, they're not going to dig too deep into, like in terms of how much do you really know about your craft. If you can make them look good with cosmetics, that's what they want. That's what I'm talking about in terms of empty calories.
All right.
Well, you're not empty calories.
Gonna cut. Thank you.
Good thing you let him get that out, right?
Thank you for that. But I do want to close out this segment with a quick soundbite from Mark. I'm not exactly sure how many years ago this was.
Probably
I found it on YouTube.
100.
Maybe the 90s, maybe early 90s. Okay. But this is him talking with Good Morning America from WCVB studios. So take a look at that.
We're buried with snow. We have about 1.5 feet of snow on the ground even as we speak. And I want to tell you, it's real winter out here. The wind from the northeast blowing about 30 miles an hour. The wind chill is 15 below zero. And I have this fantasy of me lying on the beach somewhere in the Caribbean with a lot of sun and blue ocean.
All right, thanks to everyone on our panel. Up next, Marty Walsh takes the helm. A Boston without Mayor Menino. Welcome back to Press Party here at Studio 73. There's a new mayor in town. Marty Walsh was officially sworn into office on Monday morning, ending the 20-year reign of Tom Menino.
Help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Chief.
And just like that, the Dorchester-born boy who overcame cancer as a kid and alcoholism later on is the mayor of Boston. With prominent politicians, his family, and even cellist Yo-Yo Ma to cheer him on, the 46-year-old gave his first speech as the chief executive of the city.
Today, we are sworn in together.
In the first big mayoral inauguration in recent history, Marty's got the media wondering, what kind of relationship will he have with the press? He's already proven he's not scared of refuting stories he says are false, just like Menino did throughout his reign. He's no longer the state representative who could send a press release that goes unnoticed.
Look at this, a kid from Taft Street in Dorchester who is now mayor of this great city.
And while that Dorchester boy mentality may stick, he's got every camera pointed at him from now on as the mayor of Boston. Reporting for Press Party, I'm Katie Eastman.
All right, so Tito, you were sworn in on Monday as well.
Yes,
for
I
your
was.
third term.
How come that wasn't up there?
You can see you
Okay,
in
I
the
just wanna
background.
make sure. I just wanna make sure.
It wasn't your day, Tito.
Yeah, it wasn't your day.
Okay. Don't tell my
Sorry
mom
about
that.
But what do you think? How do you think Marty Walsh is going to interact with the press as the new mayor?
I think what you'll find is an authentic individual who's not great at flubbing it. He's someone who tells the truth, and I think if he doesn't know something, he'll let you know that. I don't think he is someone who backs himself into a corner, and I think he's a pretty transparent individual. So I think you'll find that, and that's actually one of the reasons why people supported him and voted for him. And I do need to disclose I did support him and vote for him. We want to make sure that folks know that I voted. Okay. Yep.
But Jacqueline, do you think that'll change as he gets used to his role as the mayor, as he realizes that sometimes he can't always be that boy from Dorchester? He has to assert his authority. He has to have security guards around him.
I don't think he'll have a problem doing that. I mean, he was a state representative. He's the head of a union. I mean, this guy knows how to, take power and use it appropriately. In terms of his availability to the media, he's been great on Herald Radio, I'll say. He needs to work on his news dumps. So, over the weekend, he makes the announcement that he's going to have the chief of staff. He makes it on a Saturday. That's an off day. Normally, you would give that on like a Thursday or a Friday or on a weekday. And then, at 9:56 on Tuesday, we find out that he's naming Billy Evans as his police commissioner. That's also a weird thing. Now, Tito, and I brought that up to him, he said, well, he had to get ahead of it because basically it was going to get leaked. He has a problem with leaks within his campaign. Looks like he has a problem with leaks now within his administration, so he needs to work on that.
Right.
I mean, with you, Tito, remember when you were going to endorse him, that got leaked, and then all of a sudden it became like a scramble. He needs to have a better control of the people within his team.
But is there a really huge problem with those kind of things getting leaked? I mean, okay, yes, it could be a problem later on, but with these things, that's going to come out in a couple hours anyways, just
right,
who's going to be the top of his cabinet.
Agreed, but that just sort of sets a precedent. Okay, is this how you're going to operate, where all of a sudden we're going to have news releases at 10 o'clock at night about a major announcement such as the police commissioner? We had two major positions need to be filled, the police commissioner and the superintendent of schools.
But it's the police commissioner who's the police commissioner right now in an interim role moving into a permanent role.
It's still a major deal.
And it also, and I think let's hold our horses a little bit. What day is it? Is it Thursday? He's been really in the building for 3 days. Right.
He's still getting to know the
so all
hallway.
I'm saying is though is I think we should give it time. I think you'll find that he will continue to be available and make himself available to the media. And I think from my perspective, that has been an asset and one of the things that will help in moving major things through the press.
I agree with everything you said. All I'm saying is that he needs to control his staff because he shouldn't have to be sending out a press release at 10 o'clock at night about the police commissioner. That should have been something. It's a major announcement, and having to throw out a news release that late at night, you can barely get in the papers the next day. He needs to be a little bit more calculated about that. 9:56, it's not getting in the paper the next day.
Let's talk a little bit
you
about
go to bed
how...
at 8 anyway.
Right, I didn't get it till the morning. You know exactly. I go to bed at 8.
Let's talk about how he's going to be different from Mayor Menino with the press. Mark, you've been in the TV business for a while, so you've seen reporters interacting with Menino. Do you think it's going to be tough for reporters to get used to a new guy and for him to get used to them?
I think he has to get used to dealing with, the media and being, under their eye, if you will, because the media is very tough today. They're going to scrutinize this poor guy, but he's a tough guy from Dorchester.
Is it tougher than it was 20
Oh, it's much
years
tougher
ago?
because there's so many eyes on you. There's so many ears on you. Everybody's a critic today, more than ever. The world is going 100 miles an hour. And everybody wants what they want when they want it. We live in a microwave kind of society. Gimme, gimme, gimme now. So he's going to be, high heat where, you know, Tom was sort of like the good old guy from next door, and everybody loved him, and he got in a whole different time, you know, when the world was a much better place, if you will. And this guy, you know,
but is that just you saying that because
No.
those were like the golden years of TV?
No, I
it was a
just
better
no,
place?
I just think, you know, first of all, it's a thankless job. I mean, everybody wants what they want when they want it. He's going to have to please everybody, and everybody's a critic. I wouldn't want that job. I mean, you really have to be thick-skinned to be able to want to do that and deal with all the groups and the money and the lobbying.
Yeah, but you also get thrown up on a high horse. I mean, it was very funny. During the inauguration ceremony, Deval Patrick got up there and he said, I want to give you a little advice, Marty Walsh, if I could. You know, you'll never believe, your jokes will never be funnier, you'll never have taken a better photo in your life. I mean, at the same time, you all of a sudden have major prestige, you have a ton of power. Now he sends out a press release, everybody's opening it, okay? When he sent a press release out 3 months ago, it was like, oh, maybe I'll open it if I have a minute.
Is the user-generated content, right? So to your point around the fact that everybody's a blogger, everybody's a tweeter, everybody has their Facebook account, and they're able to take a shot at you in ways that they weren't able to take a shot at you before. But I also think he has pretty thick skin, and us Dorchester guys have pretty thick skin.
No, that's cool.
And again, the objective, I think, is going to be really about shaping Boston into Boston 2.0.
All right, well, thank you guys so much. That's all the time we have. Up next, MSNBC goes too far. Welcome back to Press Party. I'm your host, Katie Eastman. Making fun of a political family's Christmas card didn't go over very well on MSNBC. Jacqueline Cashman explains why one anchor gave a tearful apology.
Governor Romney's knee is his adopted grandson, who is an adopted African-American child, Kieran Romney, and he captions for this one.
I think this picture is great. It really sums up the diversity of the Republican Party.
Yeah,
every RNC.
MSNBC host Melissa Harris Perry openly mocked Mitt Romney's family photo featuring his grandson. Now the only one laughing is Romney, as the anchor was forced to apologize.
Because I am deeply sorry that we suggested that interracial families are in any way funny or deserving of ridicule.
Romney comes out on top by accepting the incident as a mistake.
And the folks at MSNBC made a big mistake, and they've apologized for it. And that's all you can ask for.
The scandal does point to a few bigger questions of whether news shows should even have comedians on as guests to mock the day's top stories, or whether kids should be off limits for public scrutiny. For Press Party, I'm Jacqueline Cashman.
All right, Jacqueline and Tito, both kind of a little bit on opposite sides, a little arguing about this.
It never happens.
Never, ever happens. Jacqueline, you say Mitt Romney came out on top. Tell me a little bit about how you felt about this.
Here's the thing. Melissa went out with the intention in the segment to make fun of Mitt Romney's card. Surprise, surprise, somebody made a race comment. She set it up. She made the comment saying, guess what? Look who's on his lap, okay? So don't be surprised that this is what ended up unfolding. Own it, okay? But instead now she's saying that she didn't mean to say it and she's so sorry and she's crying. I thought it was pathetic. And this is also the difference between men and females, okay? Females can get away with crying and all of a sudden it's the woe is me.
No one came out on top. A child.
And Romney came out on top.
Well, he never comes out on top. A child was involved. His hair's nice though, but a child was involved, and probably several children's feelings were hurt. That's not a good thing for anyone. She did the right thing by apologizing, and we got into it because yes, Hannity and Combs, Rush Limbaugh have said offensive things and have had to have their ads taken away before they actually apologize. And so the issue
maybe
here,
that was threatened here for her. Maybe that she was forced to apologize.
That might have happened, but she actually.
Here's the thing.
Really came across as genuine.
But here's the thing. She could have gone into break after that segment and said, you know what, that didn't feel right. She got to come out of break and said, you know what, I apologize. I own the guests that are on my show. They said something inappropriate, and I'm sorry. It took her days to apologize.
But she didn't take a week. You didn't hear all these people pulling ads from the station. The underlying piece here is she said something was
if she was white and she made a comment about a black person, then it would be very different. It's because there are different rules applied to her.
Well, hold on a second. So, like I said,
Mark, I'm gonna have him come in right.
No, you guys are into this. I understand what you're saying. You know something? It is very heated. You have to understand what she was thinking. I mean, why did she set it up that way? What was the bottom line? What did she want to achieve? Did she want to make herself look good at the expense of putting other people down? I mean, that's really what it was.
And we don't know her intentions. so we can't speak to that.
But
right?
one can only infer.
You assume, and it doesn't look
Exactly.
She put up a card. She said, "Look who's sitting on Mitt Romney's lap. Does anybody have a caption?" We know what her intentions were. It was to make fun of the Christmas
Right.
card.
I mean, it's not
What
Harvard
do you mean
grad
we don't
thinking
know
to
her
think
intentions?
that,
Of course we
exactly.
know what her intentions were. It was to make fun of Mitt Romney.
But hold on. And she doesn't have a track record of doing mean-spirited stuff like some of the people I've mentioned previously. She did something that actually, I'm sorry. She laughed at something. So let's also make this distinction to our viewers here that the co-signing of this was based on her laughing. What I would challenge all of our viewers and us to do is when someone in our family says something, we just went through the holiday season, when they say or do something that is racist, sexist, homophobic, any of those things, that we step up and actually
But
call
you
them
are
on
held
it.
to a different standard when you're talking on national TV, and you have to know that.
I will also say, I do think Mitt Romney came out on top because the thing is, he was very eloquent in his acceptance of the apology. He said, people make mistakes. I accept the apology and let's move on. He could have made much more out of this and he didn't, and he was smart not to.
Right, right.
I agree with that one statement.
Well, they have agreed on one thing, so let's just end it there while they are agreeing. Thanks once again to our panel and to you for watching. For Press Party and Suffolk University, I'm Katie Eastman. We'll see you next week.